The first warning did not come from Earth, it came from silence. Across the Helios expanse, relay stations that had spoken for millennia suddenly went dark. No distress calls, no debris fields, just absence. Within hours, the Galaxy Council convened in emergency session, their vast chamber glowing with the light of 1,000 species. Holographic star maps shimmered as red markers bloomed one by one along the Orion spur. An entire corridor of inhabited systems had gone quiet. At the center of the chamber floated the image that chilled them all. Earth, a small blue world, classified as pre-interstellar, politically fractured, technologically young. It was never meant to be involved. Observer drones had been watching humanity for centuries, cataloging wars, art, music, and that strange, relentless hope. Now those same drones transmitted images of something emerging from deep space. The attackers had no known signature. They did not bend space like the Elders, nor burn it like the Car Dominion. They moved like shadows stitched together, vast geometries of darkness swallowing starlight itself. Councillor Threx of the Viaxy clicked his mandibles in horror as projections showed the fleet changing course. Their trajectory was unmistakable. Earth was directly in their path. Arguments erupted instantly. Some demanded non-interference protocols be upheld. Others shouted that extinction of an emerging species would stain the Council forever. High Archivist Luma spoke softly, yet the chamber fell silent. These beings erase civilizations before first contact. We are not debating policy, we are witnessing an ending. As Earth rotated slowly on the display, unaware, fragile, alive. The Council watched in horror. The invasion had begun. On Earth, the skies were quiet. Cities glowed, oceans breathed, and humanity argued about borders and beliefs. Astronomers were the first to notice anomalies, distant stars dimming in impossible patterns. Data was dismissed, recalibrated, argued over in academic forums. No one imagined an armada hiding between photons. In a small observatory in Chile, Dr. Elena Marrow stared at her screen as algorithms screamed errors. The darkness she observed was not absence, it was structure. She sent her findings to international agencies, then waited. Above her, the night sky remained beautiful, cruelly so. When the first ships crossed the heliopause, satellites failed silently. GPS drifted, deep space probes vanished mid-transmission. Military sensors detected nothing because the attackers were not energy, not matter as humanity understood it. They were intention given form. The Galaxy Council deployed watchers closer, breaking ancient law. From their vantage, the sight was unbearable. Earth's defenses were symbolic at best, nuclear fireflies against a cosmic storm. Councillor Ashar of the Luminal Choir wept light as she observed human broadcasts. Children laughing, musicians performing, lovers promising tomorrows that would never come. The attackers began their descent. Continents lay beneath cloud cover, unaware that extinction was aligning above them. For the first time in recorded galactic history, the Council considered open contact. Not to uplift, not to guide, but to apologize. The first strike was not explosive. It was subtraction. Entire satellite networks blinked out as if erased from existence. Power grids failed across hemispheres, plunging cities into darkness. Humanity looked upward in confusion and fear. Then the sky tore. Above the Pacific, reality folded inward, revealing shapes that hurt the mind to comprehend. Witnesses later described them as impossible angles swallowing stars. No sound accompanied their arrival, yet every living thing felt it. A pressure in the soul. Military responses were immediate and futile. Missiles vanished before impact, lasers bent into nothing. The attackers did not retaliate, they simply continued. Forests grayed to ash without burning, oceans stilled as life vanished cell by cell. From the council chamber, time slowed. They saw humanity's final stand unfold in real time. Not unified, not prepared, yet defiant. Messages were broadcast into the void, prayers, threats, pleas, art. One transmission repeated endlessly, a child asking if anyone could hear them. The council voted unanimously, too late. Intervention was authorized. Ancient weapons were primed, alliances long dormant awakened. But distance is merciless, and the attackers were already within Earth's gravity well. High Archivist Luma whispered words recorded for eternity. We are witnessing courage born without hope. As the attackers reached low orbit, something unexpected occurred. Humanity adapted. Not technologically, but emotionally. Nations ceased fire against each other, sharing power, information, final moments. Music filled the airwaves, not of surrender, but of memory. The Council's fleets emerged at the edge of the system, too distant to stop the first wave. They unleashed weapons that fractured moons and scarred spacetime. For the first time, the attackers reacted. They turned curious. That curiosity saved Earth. The attackers paused their annihilation to assess the new threat. In that moment, the Council did something unprecedented. They transmitted everything they had ever recorded of humanity. Every act of cruelty, every act of kindness, every contradiction. The data storm struck the attackers like a scream. Their formations faltered, shadows unraveling under the weight of meaning. No species had ever confronted them with story, with chaos, with empathy. They recoiled, not destroyed, but changed. The Council did not understand why it worked. They only knew the advance had stopped. Earth remained wounded, but alive. The attackers withdrew beyond the stars, leaving silence in their wake. Earth survived, altered forever. The skis healed slowly, technology was rebuilt, and humanity learned they were not alone. The Galaxy Council revealed themselves at last, not as gods, but as witnesses. They told humanity the truth, that their existence had nearly ended unnoticed. Instead of fear, humanity responded with questions, art, and an insistence on joining the wider galaxy. From that day forward, Earth was no longer classified as insignificant. They were known as the species that screamed stories into the dark and made the void listen. In the council chamber, a plaque was etched without ceremony. Here we watched in horror and learned hope. And far beyond known space, something ancient remembered the sound of human voices and hesitated. Long after the attackers vanished beyond mapped space, the galaxy did not return to what it had been. Silence lingered in systems they had passed through, not empty but watchful. The Galaxy Council remained in near-permanent session, aware now that survival did not mean safety. Earth rebuilt slowly, not as it had been, but as something awakened. The knowledge that they had been observed, nearly erased, and then saved by their own stories changed humanity at its core. Children grew up learning star maps alongside alphabets. Artists painted not just skis, but councils of beings they had never met. Scientists worked with a hunger that bordered on reverence. The first council envoys arrived openly 3 years later. Not in towering war vessels, but in modest craft designed to appear unthreatening. Crowds gathered across the planet as shimmering figures stepped into Earth's atmosphere. There was fear, yes, but also recognition. A sense that something begun in Terra had transformed into connection. High Archivist Luma addressed humanity through every broadcast channel simultaneously. Her voice resonated not through sound alone, but through shared understanding. "We did not save you," she said gently. "You interrupted extinction by refusing to be silent." Those words would be carved into monuments across Earth. Yet beyond celebration, darker truths emerged. The attackers had not been destroyed. They had withdrawn, altered, carrying fragments of humanity with them. The Council's analysts confirmed something unprecedented. The attackers were learning. Deep in uncharted space, the shadows drifted, no longer uniform. Their vast shapes now carried distortions, echoes of human broadcasts embedded within them. Music bled into the darkness, laughter fractured their symmetry. They replayed moments endlessly, not understanding, but unable to discard them. For the first time since their emergence eons ago, the attackers hesitated before consuming a system. They observed. They listened. And in rare cases, they diverted their course. This frightened the Galaxy Council more than the invasion itself. A force capable of erasing civilizations was now capable of curiosity. Councillor Threx voiced what many feared. Predators that learn empathy do not become harmless, they become selective. Earth was placed under unprecedented protection. Not because it was weak, but because it was influential. Human diplomats, newly appointed, sat beside ancient species whose histories spanned supernovae. Humanity listened more than it spoke at first. Then it began to ask questions no one else dared to ask. What were they before they became this? What happens if we speak to them again? What if fear is not their origin, but their result? These questions unsettled the Council. No civilization had ever tried to understand the attackers. They had only fled or died. Against protocol, a proposal was made. A controlled signal, not a weapon, not a warning. A story, not of humanity this time, but of the galaxy itself. Its failures, its silences, its centuries of looking away. The vote was divided, tense, historic. In the end, it passed by a single voice. The signal would originate from Earth. Humanity prepared carefully. Not with generals, but with historians, poets, philosophers, and children. They compiled not propaganda, but confession. Wars fought for nothing, worlds abandoned, species lost without memorial. They included fear, shame, and the hope that it was not too late to choose differently. When the signal was sent, it did not travel like light. It traveled like meaning. Encoded in patterns, the attackers had already shown signs of retaining. The galaxy waited. Years passed. Trade resumed cautiously, exploration continued under heavy escort. Yet everyone watched the dark between stars. Then, at the edge of known space, something unprecedented occurred. A system long thought stripped of life began to glow again. Sensors detected structured energy, not consumption, but construction. The attackers were not creating life, but they were preserving it. Holding it, observing it. The Council struggled to interpret this. Was it mimicry, misunderstanding, or the first step toward restraint? On Earth, reactions were divided. Some called for preemptive annihilation. Others argued that survival had already proven a different path was possible. Humanity, once powerless, now found itself shaping galactic ethics. Dr. Elena Marrow, older now, addressed the Council as an equal. "We screamed into the void because we were afraid," she said. "They listened not because we were strong, but because we were honest. If we choose fear now, we teach them nothing new." Her words echoed through the chamber. High Archivist Luma recorded the moment with quiet awe. Far beyond, the shadows shifted again. Fragments of human song blended with alien silence. They did not advance. They did not retreat. They waited. For the first time in the galaxy's long history, extinction was no longer inevitable. It was undecided. And in that uncertainty, fragile and dangerous, the future began.